Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is about a part that I have been wanting to get for a couple of years now, and I've talked about it in videos, and that is a Dodson SST heated sump. So I just had this installed by AK Racing a couple of weeks ago, and I've been driving around with it for a bit, sort of testing out how it works. So yeah, I didn't do the install. I'm not going to be doing an install video on it. I just thought this is something that's best off left to people that know what they're doing. I didn't want to really play around with it. So yeah, I just let the guys at AK Racing do the install. If you guys would like to pick up one of these, then I'll have a link in the description, but they are not a cheap item. They're around $2,000 with all the hoses and lines and everything. And you can actually get a temp gauge kit for it. I did actually have one, but I decided not to install it because I think they look a little bit ugly. And yeah, I already have my digital dash and Torque Pro giving me accurate SST temps, so I felt no real need to add in the extra gauge just for that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop the bonnet and show you guys basically what it looks like, and if I can, and talk to you guys about how it works. Okay, so we've got the engine all opened up. So I did actually say I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. Unfortunately, you can't really see it. Now I was going to pop my pod filter and my intake heat shield off so I could show you guys, but there's really no point. But it is down there underneath. So these two lines that you can see here, they are actually lines for the heated sump. So yeah, what I'm going to do instead is show you guys one that AK Racing have in stock that I filmed when I was in their showroom dropping the car off. Show you guys what it looks like front and back. But yeah, so you have the two lines, you have the heated sump, and the way it works is it's actually using engine coolant to warm up the SST. So there's some chambers in there, coolant's going to run through it. Using the temperature of the coolant is going to help warm up the SST fluid. That's basically how it works. Now there's also a thermostat in there, which when it hits optimal temperature, which I've been told is around 70 degrees, it's then going to shut off and stop sending coolant through and stop warming it any further and try and keep it around that temperature. Now that's a huge bonus for not letting it overheat, but that's also somewhat of a downside in a way if you're wanting to launch the car. So say you're driving around, you want to go to the drag strip, you want to do some launches on the street, whatever you're looking to do, you want to keep it above 75 degrees Celsius for that launching. But shutting it off at 70 is going to mean that it's going to take a little bit longer to get to that 75. Now it's not really hard because once you hit 70, you can just be hitting the car full boost, wide open throttle, changing gears, and it's going to hit that 75 pretty quick. But I just thought I'd point that out, that it will actually slow it down somewhat because it's going to try and stop it from heating at that point. But that is, yeah, that's a plus and a minus. I just thought I'd point that out. So the other side of that is it's actually not going to let the SST overheat as easy, because as well as using the fluid to heat it up, it's going to use the fluid to keep it at that temperature. So if your car your SST starts to overheat from a lot of track driving or a lot of really hard mountain runs or whatever you're doing, the sump is going to actually cool it back down using that same coolant. So it works as a good heater and cooler. It's mainly for a heater, but just sort of point that out, that it does sort of do both. So that brings me to how well does it work? Overall, am I happy with it? I'm disappointed with it. Would I buy it again? So let's get into that a bit. Now, one thing I'll notice that it does do that never happened before is idling your car, you will warm the SST up. Previously, idling the car, basically, it might give you a couple of degrees from sitting there idling, but if the SST is not operating, therefore, like as in changing gears in driving, it's not really warming up the fluid because it's using the clutches and the clutch slip to warm that fluid. Now with the heated sump, you can leave the car idling and it is actually going to send the fluid through those chambers, through those lines, warm it up. So actually, I've been testing this out. So it's been a couple of weeks since I got this installed. So I've been doing a little bit of testing to see, my thoughts on it before I did the video. So I've done a few tests of starting and idling the car. I found that about 5 minutes. So 5 minutes of idling, it's going to give you an extra 8 degrees Celsius of fluid temperature. So that's actually pretty good. I never had that before. There was no point in really idling the car. It would get the engine warm, but you'd still be having a cold SST as you pulled out your driveway. So I never really bothered to idle the car for longer than a minute or so. And then I would just sort of take off nice and gently and let the car warm up naturally. Now I can actually let the whole car warm up pretty well. Now, I'm not going to say I'll sit there for 30 minutes idling the car and get it up to a complete temperature. I don't know how long that'll take. I wouldn't idle my car for 30 minutes, if I'm honest, test that. But 5 minutes I've done, 15 minutes I've done. 15 minutes was about, I think it was like 16 or 17 degrees. I forgot to like actually note that down in a little note in my phone. But yeah, 8 minutes I wrote down, 5 minutes I wrote down 8 degrees. So that worked really well. The second thing is driving. How fast does it actually heat up? Now, I'll go off my previous temperatures that I had before I had the heated sump. So previously, it was taking me 15 minutes to hit 50 degrees Celsius. 50 degrees Celsius is where you can start sort of driving the car a little bit. You're not going to be doing wide open throttle pulls or anything, but you can start, you know, not worrying about the SST being as cold as much, but it's not at all what we call operating temperature. So 15 minutes to get to that, and then it was taking me another 7 minutes to get to 60 degrees. So 22 minutes. Now you can average that out, and let's say different temperatures, it could be 10 minutes if it's a really hot day to get 50 degrees. It could be 20 minutes on a cold day, and to hit 60, it could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. But I'm going to average it off at 15 minutes for 50 degrees, 22 minutes for 60 degrees. Now with the heated sump, this is off just starting and driving, this is no idling. I got to 50 degrees Celsius in 9 minutes and 60 degrees Celsius, which is the operating temperature, in 14 minutes. I had it as low as 12 and I had it as high as 16. So yeah, 14 minutes is a fair average. Now this is based off 20 to 25 degrees Celsius ambient temperature here at the moment. Now if it's in the middle of summer, it's going to be faster. If it's the middle of winter, it's going to be slower. So that's how I've found it working for me, which sort of leads me to the next point of, do I recommend it? Am I happy with it? What's my thoughts overall? Now, I will admit completely that when I first got it and found those figures, I was a little bit disappointed, because I have had people completely over-exaggerate how well this thing works in the past. I did have someone say 9 minutes from dead cold, like from a cold start in the middle of winter, to get to 70 degrees Celsius. Now, I don't want to call them a liar. I don't want to say they're over-exaggerating. Maybe theirs work differently, but from checking with other owners, that seems to be about right. And talking to Alan at AK Racing, he did say that, yeah, people do tend to sometimes over-exaggerate mods, so that he's never seen it heat up that fast. So I kind of bought it thinking I'll have 10 minutes of driving max and I'll be at 60 degrees, but it's not the case. It's 10 minutes basically minimum to get 60 degrees. This person was saying the 70 degrees in 9 minutes. Yeah, I'm not getting that, especially in the middle of winter. It's not the middle of winter here at the moment. It's, getting warm at the moment. So yeah, I'll say I was a little bit disappointed when I found that it doesn't actually work that well. I didn't do a lot of research as to the temperature, like how quickly it works. I just sort of went off that person's words. But yeah, if I had have researched more and asked more people, I could have found out very quickly that's not the case. But yeah, so I did think that when I bought it. I found out that's not the case. So yes, it was a little bit disappointing. Do I still like it? Am I glad I got it? 100%. For a daily driver, I'm now able to drive to work, which is a under 15-minute trip, and it is at 60 degrees before I get to work. So that's a huge bonus. It never used to even be close before. And sometimes when I get to work, I might take some co-workers for a little run in the car, show them what it's like. And I couldn't really do that. I have to take them for like another 10-minute drive first before I could even do any pulls. Now, for example, I can get to work, someone can jump in the car and we can go up back roads and do a couple of pulls and show them what the Evo 10 is all about, and it'll be up to temp, working well. So that's a huge bonus. Also, the idling thing is great. I can idle the car and get it warm enough where I'm happy enough to drive out my estate and yeah, do a couple of little pulls, get it up to the rest of the temperature. That's a huge plus. It's just that it doesn't work as well as, I'm not going to say well as advertised, it's as well as I was sort of led to believe, but still works really well. So then I want to come on to, do I think every SST owner should have this, like I've heard people say previously? No, I don't. If your car's not a daily driver and you don't mind letting it warm up for a little bit longer, not really. So saying that, I'm not really going to get this for Letitia's car. We originally said it was on the list of mods to do to her car. I don't really think it's worth it for her car. Just a daily driver. She doesn't really like thrash the shit out of it when it's cold. She's got pretty good mechanical sympathy. We've had no issues with the car for that reason. She looks after it, and she generally waits till it's very, very warm. It's been a decent drive before she really gets into it. She usually just likes cruising the car, hearing the turbo, a little bit of flutter. But yeah, generally I've found that she's not needing it. She's not daily driving it. It's not going to be as big of a deal. So I don't think we'll get it for the heated sump. So that means I wouldn't really recommend this as a must-have mod. I know most people are going to say must have a heated sump. Yeah, if you're in somewhere where it's really cold, yep, definitely. Where we are, it's not that cold of a climate, so it's not really needed as bad. Do I still love mine and glad I got it? Yes. I'm not going to say I regret getting it in any way. It has been great. It's going to be great moving forward. It's making the car a better all-around daily driver. But yeah, I'm not going to say that everyone needs to spend the $2,000 to purchase one. $2,000 Australian anyway. That's how much they cost. So it's not a cheap part. That's why, you know, if it was like a few $100s, then yeah, everyone should have one. But it is pretty expensive. It does do a great job, but it's not needed. I don't want to say everyone needs this. Has been great for me, but yeah, that's just, thought I'd get that out there, because I do see a lot of people say must have mod and best thing ever. I think the best thing ever is actually an SST rebuild with better clutches. That's a better thing for daily drivability than the heated sump is. Heated sump with the built SST that I have now, it's making an all-around package. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of get that across. Okay, so I think I've gone over everything that I wanted to about the heated sump. I will have a link in the description to where you can get them at AK Racing if you're in Australia. If you're in any other country, then I'm sure you'll already know of your local SST sort of specialists or workshops. But yeah, they'll have a link to AK Racing where they have them in stock. Now, yeah, like I said, it's an expensive piece, $1,988 here in Australia with hoses and lines and everything. You can actually also get the temp gauge kit. So it'll have like a little gauge with the temp. I'm just not the biggest fan of those. I think it's a pretty ugly setup. Plus I already have my digital dash with the SST temp, and I have Torque Pro I'm able to use on my head unit with also accurate numbers. So I don't feel the need to get the temp gauge. I actually, let you guys know, I did actually pick this up, not used, but I picked this up off someone like without warranty that had it brand new in box, that's been sitting there for a few years, they'd never installed, and they were selling their car. So I actually got a really good deal on it. That's why I ended up getting it so soon. It was actually planned for probably the end of, or it is the end of the year basically, but yeah, it was planned for like next year or the end of this year. I actually bought it a couple of months ago and got it shipped to AK Racing, where they inspected it, said, yep, it is brand new, it's all good. And the seller did actually include the temp gauge kit. I just sort of decided I don't want that. They're a little bit ugly, no offense to anyone who likes them. There's a little bit ugly of a gauge with a decimal point in the weird spot, and the location where you have to mount it. I have the sort of dual cubby holders. I like keeping those closed. I didn't want to have a gauge always sitting there. And yeah, like I have already accurate readings from my digital displays. So I didn't get that. I did sell that back onto AK Racing. Said you guys can keep that and sell it to a customer or keep it in stock or whatever you'd like. So yeah, you can get that as well. That's going to add an extra couple $100 to the bill. But I mean, I think we all have Torque Pro these days. It's been proven that Torque Pro is accurate for the SST temps. So I'd say just stick with that. Save yourself a bit of money. But yeah, so that's definitely everything I wanted to cover. Get in the video there. If you enjoyed it, found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you want to know any more real technical answers about the SST, then feel free to leave them below, and I'll see if I can ask the guys at AK Racing to answer them for me, and I'll send you their responses in a comment. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.